There are plenty of Breakout clones with a twist. Some have different mechanics, others just rely on strong theming. They all stand out in their own way, but I thought I'd spend a bit of time today here on YesterYears Mac Games to talk about one that stuck out to me. A game for the impatient perhaps. One that allows you to think, this is taking too long. I'll just break the bricks myself. The subject of interest today is Cortex. Developed by Daniel Clav and let loose in around 1999, Cortex builds upon an older game Clav made in 1994 called Starbop. In both of these titles, the ball can float freely around the play area without the fear of it falling off. Lives are lost instead at the hands of various death blocks that are placed in all sorts of locations depending on the level. Starbop only comes in French, although Cortex also has English. There are a few translation errors here and there, but I can't speak a word of French, so good effort. Anyway, being able to break the bricks with the bat opens up a different style of play, and a different kind of level design that is necessary to stop the game from being too easy. Levels can be pretty maze-like, to give the player something fiddly to navigate around, and trying to get the ball down some of these is easier said than done. There are sometimes limits to where you can take the bat, and the death blocks aren't exclusive to the ball. Manoeuvring the bat around these walls of demise takes concentration, and it doesn't suit a trackpad at all. Plugging in a mouse is therefore a no-brainer. The other key difference to generic Breakout is the way stages will unravel as different sections are completed, adding additional linearity to a game that was pretty linear to begin with. Now, I played this game back in the day, along with a heap of other bat and ball games, and I think its mechanics, alongside the diversity of level design, are what made me want to come back to it. The levels are a league ahead of games that just see the difficulty progression limited to ball speed, additional bricks, and other harder-to-hit targets. Some stages see your bat racing against the ball to stop it from hitting a death block. Some have a second ball to help out. One that I really thought was neat was this one here, where hitting the ball is the last thing you want to do. Destroy the bricks with the bat while it's elsewhere, to avoid sending it to its doom. Cortex has a bit of theming to it as well, an intergalactic flavour that perhaps isn't particularly apparent during gameplay, but comes across effectively enough on the main screen, and the incredibly low FPS movie clips that play between levels. What isn't particularly space-like is the challenge round, which shows up after every level to give the player a chance for some extra lives. This round is always the same. It's more of a task of memorization rather than skill, as it's just too fast, and the ball changes direction too quick to follow. Just remember where to be at what point, and up to 6 extra lives are up for grabs. It plays quite a catchy little tune as well, a darn sight more enjoyable than some others in the soundtrack. You can hear the game's music in the background. It was mentioned in the game's promotional blurb on its site as a key feature. And, well, some of them are okay, but others I just find slow, grim and depressing, like a damp old abandoned house that doesn't have anything worth looking at in it. If the option to turn music off was there, it wouldn't really be an issue, but there's just a general sound control. Well, the music needed to be switched off if I was to cover this game, such is the number of jump cuts that I do, so I hunted around in the resources to find out why. Turns out, all the tunes are actually sound files. Not uncommon for old Mac games, although I had assumed that they were a bit long for this approach to work. This explains why music and sound effects can't be toggled separately.
No.
Well, I'll soon fix this. Bye-bye, music data. That's better. The aesthetics, on the other hand, are quite nice, and fairly typical of the era, where its block designs and textures scream of 256 colours. One rather weird omission from the treatment is the bat itself, which looks a bit strange against everything else as a flat solid colour. The game's specs are a lot lower than you might expect from a game from the latter 90s. This is actually playable on 68K Max, and it runs reasonably well on Mac OS 9. There's a bit of slowdown here and there, but it doesn't make it unplayable at all. So, as far as bat and ball shareware titles go, Cortex does stand out. It's pretty much what you would expect from a classic macOS title from one developer, and can be played as a relaxing game or a challenging one, depending on how fast the player has the ball speed set. The biggest irritation in my view with the game are the collision physics, which are at times just flat out bizarre. I mean, which way do you reckon this ball is going to bounce when it hits this wall? Down the passage? Nope. With only a set number of angles for the ball to fly off from the bat, Slight adjustments tend to do nothing, while more elaborate ones send the ball somewhere completely irrelevant. Nevertheless, aside from a few rough edges like this, Cortex does make a nice addition to anyone's game folder. Find it on the Garden and the repo, if you fancy giving it a shot. Links are in the description. That's it then for this edition of YY's MG. I hope you enjoyed it. For more overviews of games that can be played on old Macs, check out the rest of my channel. Some are low-key shareware titles like this, others are larger retail titles. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.